So we had a great time out there. But we'll give you a bonus of that. We got all of our stuff to go through. We'll have Matt Baker from the Tampa Bay Times on as our guest on Monday. Jimmy Hines will join us. You know him for forever. He's been all over. Kind of the czar of the SEC in my mind. Knows more about the conference than anybody. So we'll have him on to talk about Tennessee, but also about what's going on with the SEC and the bringing on these two powerhouses, which I'll talk about here. I mean, we could talk about this every show for a month and not get over it. Again, from the Shackhouse Mercandone Plus Studios, I did want to show you a couple of slides about our trip and show you some of the fun things we did. So you're going to get a slideshow. So let me show the number one. There's me drinking a Mayberry. There's number two. That is a pineapple. It's like I'm drinking SpongeBob's house. And then number three, that's Karen's Mai Tai. That was how we spent our summer vacation. Pretty much that was all of it, was just drinking. We had a good time. We got away from it all. We saw so many cool things. I had one celebrity sighting, just one. And we were at a restaurant the next to last night we were there up in Santa Barbara. It was called Cava. Really nice, great meal. And Troy Aikman walked by me. And I said, that's Troy Aikman. And I said it like in a, what we call Roush Loud voice. So when I said it, he kind of paused, and then he looked over, and he said, hey, how you doing? I said, hey, good. That was it. That was my celebrity encounter. Other than that, didn't really see anybody, although we did, I mentioned earlier, we went to the graves of, the graves yard where they have all these famous people, Jack Lemmon, Merv Griffin, Barney, obviously Don Knotts. Rodney Dangerfield was the one that made me kind of well up a little bit, though. So anyway, it was a really good trip. It was great to get away. Everybody's got to do that in the summer. If you don't do it, you're going to go crazy. But I'm back now, and we're ready to get going. In fact, on the 2nd, when we do our Monday show, that will be, to me, the unofficial start of football season. Because people can talk about it being SEC Media Days. I don't buy that. Because then you still got a long way till the football season. You haven't even started practice yet. On Monday, August 2nd, when you get to August, that's when the unofficial start of football season is. Florida's Media Day will be Thursday. They have their own Media Day. It won't be a huge one, but they'll have one. They'll start camp right around then. That's when it started, the unofficial start to it. So let us talk about all the things that have happened kind of while I was gone and even today in terms of this SEC merger, I guess you would say, with the only two good teams or two powerful teams in the Big 12 Conference. It is kind of crazy that this thing has all of a sudden happened so fast. Like, it came out of nowhere. We're sitting there one day and we're like, in fact, Tuesday, it was last Tuesday, a week ago Tuesday. We're in the studio, Robbie and I were doing the radio show because Jeff was gone. And we're doing the radio show, and all of a sudden the producer, or the station manager walks in and says, did you hear about Texas, Oklahoma going to the SEC? And my first reaction was, yeah, right. I've heard these stories before, blah, blah, blah. And next thing you know, we realize how serious it is. And then it gets real serious. And then all of a sudden, boom, 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 we're out. SEC goes, you're in here. Board of directors today at both Oklahoma and Texas go, yep, we're passing this unanimously. It's a done deal. Now, we still don't know when, and we won't know when for a while. And this is what a lot is going to depend on, is what happens with these other leagues, because really the Big 12 is still going to decide probably, and yeah, definitely, when Oklahoma and Texas come to the SEC. Contractually, because of the rights, they can't come till June 1st, I think it is 2025. If they don't, if they leave earlier, they've got to pay this massive fine of, I think it's $80 million. So they don't want to do that. That's kind of negating the whole point, which is to make more money by coming to the SEC. Well, but the one thing that could change that is that the Big 12 dissolves. If the Big 12 does not feel they can get anybody, and a year later they go, hey, look, we'll go wherever, we're just going to go somewhere, joining with the Pac-12. Now, that'll be curious because there's been a lot of talk that they may just join up with the Pac-12. Well, what do they call that conference? They certainly aren't going to call, that would be how many teams, 18? They aren't going to call an 18-team league the Big 12, but you never know. But let's say that happens, okay? Now we're going to have four. This is where the dynamics of this thing just they drive me crazy because, again, guys, we were talking about how the NIL was changing college football, and then the transfer portal and the one-time transfers, total new landscape in college football. Everything that's been happening lately has been unbelievable, and then this happens, and it's like, oh, that is, forget it. We don't care about it. It's not important. This is the story, and this is the story that's going to really change college football in so many ways. So let's just say that the Big 12 says, "Hey, we're going to join the Pac-12. We're going to have another super conference." It's the only way, to me, of survival for the Big 12. And I don't know what they will call this conference, the Big Pac-12. I don't know. Whatever they want to call it doesn't matter, but I would think that means there is no Big 12 conference, and then Texas and Oklahoma could just say, hey, we aren't contractually obligated anymore. We're heading over. We're coming over to the SEC in 2023 or 2024. It obviously won't be this year, but who knows if that'll happen. Or there could be one of these things where every year, like 2021 happens, 2022 happens, and the teams in that conference, the Big 12, say, we're sick of these guys. First of all, Oklahoma's won the conference every year since they had agreed to go to the SEC. We don't like that. They're playing in the playoffs, and they're referring to them as future SEC team. We're just tired of it, and they let them go for, say, a reduced fee, cut it down in half or something like that. Then you could see it happen. They could just say, get out. We don't want you around anymore. So we'll see as we go forward with this. Bob Bowlesby came out and had this earlier statement this week about how the ESPN was behind this and they were making a move and they were kind of undercutting the Big 12. And of course, ESPN's come out and denied it, like they deny everything that's wrong with ESPN. And that's the thing. Somebody was making a point that Kirk Herbstreit went on one of these shows and was saying, look, I want to believe that football's about tradition and things that I grew up with and everything, and it's about the game and everything, but I know it's just about money. Well, the reason it's about money, Kirk, is because your network that you work for is paying that money. And the ESPN just signed this new deal with the SEC that won't start for a couple of years, but it's going to be $40 million a team. It's ridiculous how much money is going to come in. So at any rate, we'll see what happens there. But to me, that is one of the big questions, is what happens here. We know what's going to happen in the SEC, but what happens with the Big 12, and then what are the offshoots of that? Like, a lot of people believe, well, now the AAC is a Power 5 conference and not the Big 12. Because, look at the Big 12 now without Texas, Oklahoma. That doesn't rock your boat, I don't think. There's no way. TCU and Baylor are playing. Well, there was a time, 1 year, when that was a big deal, but it's not now. You've got a lot of teams that just don't excite you, so you've got to do something. But to me, and a lot of people have talked about this, to me, to go out and go get, say a Cincinnati, Memphis, SMU has been talked about, doesn't really do much for your profile. I'm sorry. I mean, it just doesn't. It's just adding teams. And you're adding a Cincinnati team that really, until, 12 years ago, 13 years ago, was an obscure football program. Now, Brian Kelly came in there. Of course, they played Florida in the Sugar Bowl in, 2009? That would have been the 2009 season, Tim Tebow's last season. And then what they've done under Luke Fickell has been really good as well. But it's not like this is, I don't know, it's a big market, I guess. That's a good thing. But the other player in this thing is BYU, which went independent and now is going to be courted, maybe by even the Big Ten. I mean, the Big Ten's not going to just sit by and say, well, we'll just stay where we are. You know, the SEC is going to pass us and everything. Well, we'll just stay where we are. They'll probably do something there. The question I have, and again, you can't get answers, and when we have Matt Baker on, maybe he'll have the better answers than I do, is what happens to the playoffs. Now, the UCLA new commissioner came out and said, and he's been in the job 2 weeks. What? What's going on? 2 weeks. But he did make a good point. He goes, I think we need to stop talking about football expansion. Maybe we don't need to do this right now or in 2015 or whenever we're talking about it. We don't even know what conferences are going to be. We don't know what they're going to look like. We don't know how many they're going to be. We don't know if there's going to be a Power 5. It may only be a Power 4. Think about this. And he's not wrong on that regard. I want him to shut up only because I want to see this playoff. It's going to be so much fun to watch. But he's not wrong. You know, I think maybe we got ahead of ourselves, or maybe, and that's the weird thing that drives me crazy is Greg Sankey, it wasn't like this was all came out of the blue to him. You know, you don't join a league and know that you're going to get the votes to approve it and know that you're going to get the votes on from them to come in. You don't do all that, and while you're working on a playoff and come up with 12 teams, and those aren't connected, nobody's going to convince me of that. But you could end up with four leagues that are considered Power Fives. Now, would you then bring the American Conference into the fold and make it a fifth team? Let's say you have the Big Pac-12, whatever we're going to call it. We're going to come up with a better name. We'll call it the Big Sur. How's that? The Big Sur out there in California, you know, or whether you let the AAC in. Does the ACC now try to add a couple more teams just to get bigger and flex its muscles a little bit? No matter what you do, the SEC is going to rule. It's going to be the best conference. It's already the best conference. We all know that. It's the best conference in football, and it's really good in everything else. Softball, baseball, everything you talk about, basketball. So it's still a mishmash right now, and maybe we'll get things a little bit clearer. But we're also going to talk about Florida State, and Miami because Matt Baker covers them all. We'll take a break. We'll come back and we'll talk to him. And I know he was at SEC Media Days as well, so we'll talk to him a little bit about that and how much they miss me and Robbie. All that and more coming up on Another Dooley Noted Podcast.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
This is Pat Dooley, and I want to tell you about my friends at the Gainesville Quarterback Club. I'm a member, and you should be too. It's the oldest Gator booster club in the world and a great place to meet new friends, network with prominent business people, and hear a great collection of speakers, including Dan Mullen, throughout the football season. Go ahead and give John Stevens a call at 352-222-8516 or sign up on the website, quarterbackclub.org.
Car accidents, trucking accidents, motorcycle accidents, and wrongful death. If injured or killed by the negligence of others, who will fight for the compensation you deserve? Shakow and Mercadante, 5 lawyers, more than 100 years of combined legal experience, millions in settlements and verdicts. Call Shakow and Mercadante, 371-3000. Rebuilding lives.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Dooley Noted Podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer to go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, you know, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where, you know, everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. to go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Tebow Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Okay, welcome back to Another Dooley Noted Podcast, and I've got a lot of things to say because it's been been away for a little bit, but I know a guy who actually went to SEC Media Days in lovely Hoover, Alabama, where I was not, and he joins us now. Matt Baker from the Tampa Bay Times covers college football. Matty, how you doing?
I'm hanging in there. Let me tell you, you missed quite a bit in Hoover. It was an interesting experience.
Well, it's funny, but I think I could have covered it all from here. I mean, with all the story that was breaking there. But did anybody say they missed Robbie and me out there? That we weren't out there?
Yeah, of course, all of us did.
Well, I heard the commissioner gave me a shout out, so at least I got that. So. Well,
we were in. Unfortunately, during when the commissioner was talking, the Gator guys were all talking to Mullen,
right.
So we kind of missed out on that. It was just a weirder than usual experience. Cause it was. I don't want to get too into the weeds here, but it felt normal in some ways, except where it didn't feel normal, and it was just kind of jarring at times. And I really hope. I hoped last year, this time, 2021 would have been normal. So I really, really hope 2022 feels like what it's supposed to again.
Well, and that's the thing. I saw a tweet from Peter Burns this morning, and he said, one thing that NIL and one-time transfers and all this talk of super conferences has taken away is that people don't realize we're still not there, and we're not going to be normal during the 2021 seasons. And now I think eventually, because of this Delta variant, ADs are going to have to start walking back, totally full stadiums.
It's going to be really interesting what happens in the next couple of weeks. And, we've already seen a little bit of that. Florida State was going to have like a fan day, something along those lines, and they canceled that because of Delta. I haven't seen anybody cancel the idea of full stadiums, but it's going to be a very interesting dynamic. Look, schools, I think, were lucky that last year was not as bad financially as it could have been. They were able to get in a good amount of games, so they got a good amount of TV revenue. It wasn't a year ago this time. I was bracing for a college football apocalypse in terms of the finances and the ramifications that would create. It wasn't apocalyptic, but it was bad. And if we're talking about this 2021 season being at 20% attendance, 50% attendance, or starting at full and then scaling back, or whatever it may be, then we start getting into a situation where they were lucky to be able to get through it once. If it's a second time, that's really bad.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting. And it's going to be interesting to see if any teams, because their players don't get vaccinated, end up with a forfeit. We may see this in the NFL. We could just as well see it in the SEC?
Yeah, I'm expecting some of that. I don't know if we're going to see forfeits, but I don't see, based on where we are today, what is it, 2/18 on July 30th, I don't see a situation where COVID does not affect this upcoming season. Some schools have higher vaccination rates than others. Some coaches are pushing it more than others. But I don't see how we as a sport can get around that, where there's going to be an outbreak at such and such a school because of what's going on in the community, both on campus and then the state and region as a whole. And that's going to affect on the football field. It could be as simple as a quarter, like we saw last year, Trevor Lawrence gets out for the Notre Dame game, and that's a big deal. Could be as simple as that, or it could be a situation where there's a big outbreak at a certain school, and they're going to have to, can't reschedule. It's going to have to be a forfeit. And that could have big ramifications, not just for a season, but look at the college football playoff. What if that happens to Alabama? What if that happens to Texas, whoever it is, pick your school. That there could be major effects from this.
Well, speaking of Alabama and Texas, they're soon to be conference mates, and obviously today both the schools came out unanimously, said they are going to join the SEC, and we still don't know when it's going to be because a lot will depend on the Big 12 and what, whether they dissolve, whether they join the Pac-12, whether they try to stay together, and we'll see what happens. But the big thing that I keep seeing from people, Matt, is a lot of people are upset, and they're saying, this isn't good for college football. It's good for the SEC, but it's not good for college football, and there's nobody to step in and stop it. And I'm like, well, that's what we've always had, and I don't know what the answer is to that.
First of all, I agree. I don't think it's the best for college football. It's weird. Look, our buddy Ralph Rousseau has said in the past, college football is a regional sport played nationally. And I think that's very true. I've lived in enough different places by now. College football in Indiana feels different than it does in Oklahoma, which is different than it does in Florida. The style of play is different, the region is different, the culture is different, all that stuff is different. Not better or worse, just different. And when you start trying to make it national the way it's been going for a while and the way this move makes it, I think college football loses a part of that regionality. People here might not care a ton about Oklahoma, Iowa State when Iowa State's 6-6 or 8-4 or whatever. But people in Oklahoma care because that's a game they've been playing since like 1904 or something. Texas and Baylor might not mean a lot to the people in Indiana, but it sure heck of a means a lot to the people in San Antonio and Dallas and Houston. So when you go away from that, you lose a part of what makes college football different than the NFL. I mean, how many house divided license plates have you seen for Florida Georgia or Florida State? How many of them have you seen for Jaguars Bucks and Warriors and Rays? No, it doesn't happen. So that's what the rivalries are what make college football special. Not just your Oklahoma State, but also Oklahoma and Kansas State that have been playing for a while. And we are losing a piece of it. Do I have an answer? No, I don't.
Yeah.
But I still think as I sit here and I've tried to process the last 9 days, it does make me a little sad to kind of think about that. Because again, I worked in Oklahoma. I know what those rivalries mean. I know what the Big 12 is and what it's supposed to be. And it does make me a little sad. That's going away.
Yeah, and on the same aspect of that is that, I was listening to somebody, I think it was either a guy who played for Texas or a guy who played for Oklahoma, and they were always saying, every year we get a home schedule and the fans don't get excited. Oh, wow, Baylor and Kansas State and Texas Tech, whoop-de-doo, I think they've gotten bored with the whole league as well.
There's some of that nationally too, right? Like, how excited do Florida fans get for South Carolina?
Not anymore. No.
I mean, and I think that's why Mullen's point that he made at SEC Media Days and it kind of became a thing about getting rid of changing the scheduling. I think it's been a topic for a while, and I think that was a good idea. Because at least if you change up this schedule, whereas Florida's not playing South Carolina and Kentucky, they get to play Auburn more, they get to play A&M more, they get to play Arkansas more. I think there's an advantage to that still keeps that regionality without making it boilerplate, except, this year we play UTEP instead of Texas State, something like that, right?
What do you think the league will do once they go to these 16 teams? Do you think it'll be this pod system that was put out on the SEC network, or do you think it'll just be get rid of divisions altogether and just go on 1 through 16?
I think it'll be pods, and frankly I like that because again the rivalries we talk about all the time. Rivalries are what makes us special. Right. Florida should be playing Georgia every year until the end of time. Period. Yep. I think Florida should be playing Tennessee every year until the end of time. Period. I hope that happens. Auburn should be playing Bama every year until the end of time. So you need to do something to protect that, and pods are probably the most logical way, where we put Florida with Georgia and Tennessee and Kentucky, whoever it is, and have them play each other every year, and then also play either 2 from each pod or this pod this year. And there's ways to make it work, but that way
much like the NFL does. Yeah.
Correct, like the NFL does, yeah. I think that's probably the way this should end up going, is a pod system that I think makes things. I'd like to see the ACC do it. I'd like to see others do it as well, where, again, you get to protect the games that matter most, Florida State, Miami, Florida, Georgia, whatever the case may be, and then switch up the ones that don't. So, they don't have to, Bama doesn't have to go 12 years without a trip to the swamp or whatever it is.
Right, which is ridiculous in itself.
Yes.
I just did a thing for Gators Wire, my book of lists, and I'll give away one of them. Wait till these fans in Texas and Oklahoma get a load of our SEC airports. They are gonna freak when they realize there's no way to get to Starkville, there's no way to get to Fayetteville cheaply, when there's no way to get to Columbia, Missouri. They're not gonna like this conference so much.
You ever tried to go to Manhattan, Kansas?
I have not.
I did a story years ago at the Tulsa World on recruiting expenses and which schools basically got the most bang for their buck with recruiting. And Kansas State spent the most to get the least, or get one of the least in the country. And so why is that? Manhattan, Kansas is really hard to get to. I mean, there is an airport, but it doesn't have a lot of options, and you're not flying direct from Tampa to Manhattan or whatever. So that's an added expense. The other thing I'd say to that, again, I love Oklahoma, the people there. I can't say enough good things about my friends and colleagues there. Stillwater, Oklahoma. Stillwater, think about that name. It is named for the most abundant substance on Earth doing nothing. So give me the choice between Stillwater and Starkville or Stillwater and Fayetteville.
Well, that's true.
I'll take Starkville and Woo Pig Suey.
Stillwater was a great band and Almost Famous too. I like that band.
And there's a movie of some sort that just came out or is coming out about with Stillwater. I don't know. Again, I loved Oklahoma State. Great. When that place was rocking, that was a lot of fun. They've made a lot of upgrades to Boone Pickens Stadium, but not my favorite place to go.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the 3 in-state powers. And obviously, Matt, you heard Dan out there and talked to players and everything. There's a level of confidence that they have that nobody seems to have in Florida. And it's like, I wrote this a while back about how Florida was going to get no love this summer. It was going to all be a Georgia love fest, and Florida was not going to be everybody. You were going to get upset if you're a Gator fan by what you hear this summer. I think the team's a little better than most people think it is, but they've still got to prove it to me. And my big thing, I've said this all along, this team will only be as good as its offensive line, because it's been a very sporadic offensive line. Pass block good, can't run block a lick. So I don't know, what is your take on Florida going in?
Yeah, I think they're going to be okay.
Yeah.
That's my read on them. I think Georgia's going to be really, really good. I think what's scary, if you're a Gator fan, about Georgia is I think they have a quarterback in JT Daniels. I really do. I'm not saying he's going to win the Heisman. I'm not saying he's God's gift to quarterbacks, but I think he's going to be better than anything they've used, not anything they've had, because we all remember Justin Fields, but anything they've used under Kirby Smart. And you recruit the level that Georgia has done, and now you add in a potentially very good quarterback. That, to me, puts them – look, I think Georgia should win the national title this year. They've recruited at such a high level for so long. Eventually, it's going to break through, and it's going to happen. Law of averages will make it happen. And I think if they stay healthy and you add in this quarterback, I think this is the year that Georgia should win the national title.
I would tell Kirby not to fake any kicks in.
Yeah, this is true. And then you look at the schedule, obviously, with Alabama. Yeah. I mean, the Gators do get a break in terms of how early Alabama is, because I don't know that Alabama will have figured itself out fully by week 3. And Florida also has 2. I don't think FAU is going to be that great. I don't think USF is going to be that great. So Florida's got 2 tune-up games where they can get better where they need to and kind of hide what they don't want to show for Bama. So I think the schedule, is nice, but at the same time, Bama's still going to be Bama, and it's still going to be really good. So I look at that and I see two. I don't feel good about those games. And I think there's probably another loss or two on that schedule as well. I think this is a step back for the Gators.
Well, part of the problem for their schedule, and I mean, obviously playing Alabama is always a problem. And when on the other side, Georgia pulls a new coach in Brian Harsin at Auburn, and then Arkansas, where they've lost a lot. So they have a huge advantage there. And that, to me, would be the reason I would have picked Georgia if I was at SEC Media Days. But the other thing is, when you look at Florida's schedule, obviously the Alabama game's at home, but the other four biggest games in my mind are all played away from the Swamp. And that would be Kentucky, would be LSU, it would be obviously Georgia, and I would put Missouri on that list. I think those are the four games. They almost are going to have, assuming they lose to Alabama, they're almost got to sweep those games away from Gainesville in order to win the Eastern Division.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And, I will say this, Mullen as a play caller he's really, really good, right? Like if he's not the best there is, he is on that very short list. Actually, with Lincoln Riley from Oklahoma, I put them right next to each other. So I don't want to discount him and what he's been able to do with developing and everything, but I don't think they've recruited at a high enough level to kind of sustain the losses that they're going to have with Kyle Trask and Kyle Pitts and Kadarius Toney and those guys. So I think they're due for a step. Yeah,
that's and not only that, but he's a really good road coach. I didn't even think about this till I went and I looked it up today. He's 10-2 on the road, which I know he hadn't been in the toughest places. He's only lost in Baton
LSU
Rouge.
And Burrow.
Yeah. So I mean, he's done pretty well. All right, let's shift over to Florida State. And everything I hear out of there is they're going to be better, but not there yet.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. The Notre Dame opener on Sunday night is going to be really interesting. Mike Norvell, I think, is a really good coach. I think he's really, really sharp. And when he has dudes, he knows how to use them. We saw that at Memphis, where he could, he could throw it around a lot, and he had the receivers, and he could run it well with Kenny Gainwell and Darrell Henderson and those guys. So I think he's really good at fitting his system to maximize his dude. He doesn't have a ton of dudes yet, but we'll see what he is able to do against Notre Dame. Because again, kind of like Florida getting an edge or at least an advantage in playing Bama early. Florida State has an advantage in playing Notre Dame early because Notre Dame loses Ian Book, who I think had more wins at quarterback than anybody else in Notre Dame history. And my understanding is the Irish have won some games over the course of their history. And so I think that's something that kind of goes in that FSU column. But I think it could also be even if they go out and play really well, or maybe even knock off Notre Dame, I think that could be a fool's gold situation where I just don't think they've recruited at a lower level the last few years than they have in the past. I think it might take some time for the transfers to gel. You look at what they've got later with Miami, which should be pretty strong, North Carolina, Clemson. Look, they could be a much better team and go 7-5, and after that be a good year. I think that's just realistically where the Noles are right now.
Do you think Mackenzie Milton is a starter when they start the season?
Gun to my head, if I had to answer right now, I think the answer is yes, but I don't feel good about that yet. Jordan Travis played well in sports last year. I mean, obviously led him to the upset win against North Carolina, which when we look back at the 2020 season, that's one of those, what? How did that happen? And the way he's able to run that adds a dynamic. I will tell you this, I think Mackenzie Milton looked better when I saw him in the spring game than what I expected. He didn't look fully back, and it seemed like he was a little bit on his own head in terms of how he was throwing and how he was planting and everything. But he ran better than I expected, which to me tells you that he's getting there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, one more question for our great friend Matt Baker from the Shack-Al Mercandane Studios. Of course, Matt covers college football for the Tampa Bay Times, does a great job. Matt, all right, Miami, Robbie keeps telling me Miami's going to push Alabama, and he's kind of started to convince me. But I guess until I see the Eric King out there on the field against defenders like that, I'm not going to know. I got a feeling that by the end of the first quarter, I'll go, well, Robbie was right, or I could go, well, Robbie was really wrong on that one.
Yeah, obviously Miami's health depends on D'Eriq King. I mean, when he is on and healthy, he is really, really good. I only got to see him in person once last year against FSU, which was unfortunate. I didn't get to see him more, but and they kicked the crap out of the Knowles. But you could just see the way he moves around. He is good. He is special. He's not like a high-level NFL talent just because he's small and everything. But man, I'd want him on my team. He's really good. But I don't know how he's going to be coming back from a serious knee injury like what he had in the bowl game. Where I thought you were going with, I have a hard time believing Miami until they prove to me that they can do it, that they can sustain things. I mean, we saw in 2017 what they were able to do, kicking the crap out of Notre Dame. Was it 41-8 at home, and everybody thinks, oh, the U's back, and then they lose the head scratcher at Pitt and get blown out by Clemson and not look good against Wisconsin. Okay, well, same old Miami. I think Manny has taken them. He's recruited at a very good level. I mean, probably the best recruiting staff in the state right now. He's recruited at a high level, and he's getting some dudes there. But until I see it all come together on the field, I'm going to be a little bit hesitant to fully buy into it.
Yeah, still a team that lost FIU a couple years ago, and we saw what happened. Yeah, and what happened against North Carolina last year. That's not an elite team. You can't be elite and get gashed on the same running play over and over and over again.
Correct, and I think that was I don't want to say it was a fluke because North Carolina was really good and the game happened. I don't think that was indicative of where Miami is and what they really were last year. I think they're a better team and they just laid an egg. I think it's that simple. I do expect them to be better, but I'm still not going to buy into that. I mean, if I had to pick right now, I think North Carolina wins the Coastal with a pretty good team with Sam Howell, and Miami is a little bit behind that.
Matt, great stuff as always, man. We thank you for coming on, and next time we talk to you, we'll be in football season, so we'll have games to actually talk about, and not transfer portals and conference realignments and everything like that.
You don't want to talk more realignment?
No, I've talked it to death, but I could talk about it all day because there's so many scenarios, possible scenarios, things that could happen, or this could happen, or this could happen. So it's kind of fun.
I'll give you one more if I can.
Okay.
I watched the Oklahoma Board of Regents meeting today. Goodness knows that everybody loves watching a good board meeting. Oh. And they were talking about they had a half an hour where they were talking about why OU is doing this now, why they're leaving the Big 12, why they hitched their wagon with Texas, why they're leaving Oklahoma State, why the SEC, why now. And as they were talking about all of those reasons, it basically boiled down to this. If we stand pat, we get left behind. And as I went back and listened to it all, I couldn't help but think about Florida State. Because, look, the Big 12 is in the middle of the pack in terms of finances and what they're getting from TV. The ACC is way behind that. And the ACC's, they're locked into their TV deal for another 15 years, 2036.
2036,
I just did a little looking. It's conceivable in the next couple of years, the Gators are going to make twice as much from the SEC as Florida State is going to make from the ACC. That's a problem.
And they've had money problems in the past, as you know.
They had money problems beforehand, and then they fired Willie Taggart and paid him $18 million or whatever it is over however many years to go away. Then you factor in the COVID losses they had, and then you factor in the fact that they're going to get potentially lapped by their one of their in-state rivals and what they're making from the league. That's an issue. Florida State's not going to get left behind. I don't know how this is all going to shake out. I don't think Florida State's going to go back to, I don't know if they're going to be the little sisters of the poor or anything. But as I was listening to OU talk, I just couldn't help but think in my head, man, the reasons they're leaving, a lot of them resonate in Tallahassee. I'm just throwing that out there. There's
FSU to the Big 12. Is that what
they did play a home and home with OU, which was really good, like 10 and 11. Mark Stoops played coach against Bob and what have you. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I don't think the dominoes are done.
No, absolutely. I think you're right. Matt, it's always great talking to you, buddy, and I appreciate your time, and thanks so much for joining us here. from the Dart
Got it.
Shakow
Thank you.
Mercandani Studios.
Thanks.
All right, buddy, thanks. All right, we'll be right back. We need to take a break. That was great stuff from Matt. He's always great. I could have him on every show because we used to have a rapport. We both were AP voters, and we always have fun talking about it. All right, we've got to get a break. We'll come back. We've got all of our stuff to go through. The Adams Ribco to go, Gator of the Week, Hand Law 3 Things. We've got the Friday football fix. We've got a Leonardo's and Millhopper quick picks and a bonus episode of this, that, and the other, all coming up here on Another Dooley Noted Podcast.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
This is Pat Dooley, and I want to tell you about my friends at the Gainesville Quarterback Club. I'm a member, and you should be too. It's the oldest Gator booster club in the world and a great place to meet new friends, network with prominent business people, and hear a great collection of speakers, including Dan Mullen, throughout the football season. Go ahead and give John Stevens a call at 352-222-8516 or sign up on the website, quarterbackclub.org.
Car accidents, trucking accidents, motorcycle accidents, and wrongful death. If injured or killed by the negligence of others, who will fight for the compensation you deserve? Shakow and Mercadante, 5 lawyers, more than 100 years of combined legal experience, millions in settlements and verdicts. Call Shakow and Mercadante, 371-3000. Rebuilding lives.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Dooley Noted Podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam's Ribco to go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Ribco to go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
All right, welcome back to Another Dooley Noted Podcast, live from the Shakow and Mercandani Plush Studios here. Evan is producing and doing a great job as always, and directing. One thing that we were out there for was my son-in-law is doing a movie, wrote a movie. And we got to go to a set. It was really pretty cool to go to the set. And my youngest daughter, Kelsey, was working on the movie as a PA. And it was, boy, she is convinced that's where she wants to live now. And it was pretty cool. I don't know, I don't want to tell you very much about the movie. It's a long way to get editing and everything. They wrapped it. We went to the wrap party. That was cool. But when we get closer to it, I'm going to plug it a little bit because I've got money invested in it. Not much. $150. Anyway. All right, so we got 5 things to do. Let's get to them. We're going to start out today with the Friday football fix because we were talking a lot of Oklahoma, Texas. Of course, the Friday football fix is presented by Hesser and Kipke, a Gainesville law firm that specializes in family law and workers' comp. We appreciate them for being aboard. And the Gainesville Quarterback Club, which is the first meeting is not that far away, the 17th. Ben Troop will be speaking at that meeting. And they're offering a special deal, $100. You can get into the first 3 meetings. And that's it actually is for the first 3 meetings of the season for actual game meetings. So it'll be FAU, USF, and Alabama. And I'm sure I know who their guests are, but I'll save it as more of a surprise. So again, we thank Hester and Kipke and the Gainesville Quarterback Club for providing us with a Friday football fix. And here's our Friday football fix. How many of you know what Florida's done against Texas and Oklahoma in their lifetime? Go ahead, raise your hand if you know. Evan, you don't know? You shouldn't know. Nobody knows. I had to look it up because I wasn't sure. Because I was thinking, has Florida ever played Texas? So I had to look it up. But as you know, Oklahoma, Florida's 1-1 against. Beat them to win the national championship, lost in the game where they decided not to play, which was last year. So that's 1-1. Of course, 24-14 the national championship, 55-20 the Cotton Bowl, which was no fun. All right, what'd they do against Texas? Well, they tied them in 19, 20, and 24. I did not cover that game. Please do not accuse me of that. That game was in Austin. They tied them. They played in 39 in Austin and lost 12-0, and they played them in Gainesville. So it won't be their first trip when they come here down the road. It's going to be way down the road. It won't be their first trip to Gainesville. They've been to Gainesville. I'm sure no fans are alive who were at that game. Maybe a few of them are. And Texas won 26-0. So lifetime 1-3-1 against those teams. But I was curious, and I didn't even know they'd ever played Texas. And I think it's great that they were going to get them on the schedule anyway. I asked Scott Strickland about that. I said, hey, you already scheduled them. Now it's just going to be a conference game. He said, yeah, we'll just see how all that works out. But obviously that could change things drastically because you could have Texas. You're not going to play them as a non-con. So, and again, we don't even know whether the SEC is going to 9 games or not. We assume they will. I can't see them fitting it in otherwise. But anyway, that is our Hester and Kipke Friday football fix, which we enjoy doing here in the Shackle Mercadante studios. We appreciate Hester and Kipke and the Gainesville Quarterback Club for sponsoring that. Let us move along to our next thing, which is 3 Things by Hand Law. And, we love Hand Law. They've been so good to us. Hand Law is, of course, a Florida law firm that helps clients with government. You can learn more about Hand Law by visiting its website, www.hand.law. The firm is available for consultation in Jacksonville. 3 things. All right, number 1, congratulations to Trey Mann and to Scotty Lewis. I got to admit, when Scotty Lewis went out, I said, you're not getting drafted. But then you start thinking about it, you go, hey, look, somebody's going to say, we can work with this guy. We can teach him how to shoot better. We can make him more of an offensive guy, and he's a defensive stopper. He's not a bad guy to come bring off the bench in those kind of situations. So Charlotte got him with a 56 pitch, which is almost the end of the draft. But okay, you got drafted. That's all he wanted to do. And even if he hadn't, he still was going to go play pro. He was done. He did not want to be at Florida anymore. And that's fine. And that's good. It was really cool to see Mike White with Trey Mann and get them hug each other, Trey being the 18th pick, first player pick since Bradley Beal. It had been a drought for Florida, and it had been a drought for Mike White, to be honest with you. And I think that's good for him and good for Florida. So, and great for those kids, too. I'm really happy for Trey Mann. I like Scotty Lewis a lot. I just was disappointed that he decided to turn pro and did not accept coaching very well at Florida. And maybe that's on the coaches. And a lot of you will say it is. All right, number 2 here on Hand Law's 3 Things. The best part of being home is being able to watch the Olympics. And I'm not a gigantic Olympic guy. I pay attention to it. But unfortunately, everywhere where we stayed, whether it was the Marina Del Rey Hotel, pretty fancy stuff there, my wife would not tell me how much it was. That's how fancy it was. When you got like 12 channels and we stayed in an Airbnb and we got like 15 channels, and we stayed in Sheraton the last night. And anyway, to get home and to be able to watch, you got 8 Olympic channels, right? And so we get to watch it. I finally am getting to watch all the Olympics I want. The trouble there was we only had one Olympic channel, and it was whatever was on was the only thing you could watch. So sometimes it was skateboarding for 2 hours, and then it was mountain biking. So the best part of getting home, and look, I love LA. It is a great town. You can in a block area, you can find as many local restaurants as you find in all of Gainesville. It's just incredible. There's so much to do there. The traffic's bad, but it moves, I love LA, but I was so happy to come home. I like Gainesville. This is where I want to live. Okay, that's the difference. LA is a great place to visit. I like living in Gainesville. All right, finally, number 3, a new term was brought to me today that I didn't know about, and that is why Simone Biles had to pull out of the Olympics where she did, and she's got twisties. Now, how many of you know what twisties are? I thought those are the things you put in those are scrunchies. I thought maybe they were the red licorice you eat. No, twisties are when and this happens in gymnastics apparently, I didn't know about it, when you do a full turn and a twist and you lose track of where you are. You don't know, it's kind of a form, I don't know if it's a form of vertigo, but it's kind of like that, and that you look down and you can't find the place you're supposed to land. Think about that. That is terrifying to think about somebody who gets the height that she does and then she can't find the floor. And that's what happened in her vault, and that's when she pulled out, and she said she's had it before, and it eventually passes. It may not pass in time for her to compete anymore. We'll see. Twisties, there's a new one for you. So thanks to Hen Law for bringing us 3 things. Let us go to the Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks here in the Shackau Mercantile Plus Studios. And I made a mistake last Friday, and then I thought the Mets and the Braves were playing a 4-game series, which is about as much as anybody ever plays. Turned out they played a 5-game series because they had a doubleheader that I did not know was scheduled. So anybody who picked the Braves to win 2 or 3, you're good. You qualify because the Braves ended up winning 3. So they're not back in it. They're still 4 games out, and I'm not optimistic about it, especially now that the Dodgers apparently have said, we'll take that guy. How about if we take one of those players too? We'll take a Max Scherzer. Forget it. It's over. It's just incredible. L.A., I mean, believe me, those were the stories. The Dodgers trades and the Lakers trades. They didn't care about Texas and Oklahoma coming to the SEC. So I'm a little challenged here now, coming up with questions for the Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks, which we love doing, and we've had a great time with it. What I'm giving you, it's a good reason to watch Sunday Night Baseball, Boston at Tampa Bay. I'm sure that most people have a rooting interest one way or another. Either you're a Boston hater, could be a Tampa Bay lover, you could be a Red Sox fan like I am, kind of. I'm allowed to do that. I keep saying I'm allowed to do that. You're allowed to be a fan of 2 teams. But I like the Red Sox, so Boston at Tampa Bay, very simple. Just tell us who you think's going to win. You can qualify. If you've already qualified for our next drawing, qualify again. The more times your name is in the hat, the better chance you have. So we appreciate that. We did get a Facebook. Edwin Johnson said 1-1 versus OU. Yeah, that's exactly right. And of course, one of the highest moments in Florida history, one of the lowest moments. You win the national championship, you beat a team that can't be stopped, hold the 14 points with Tim Tebow at quarterback and Ahmad Block's pick, you don't play. It's kind of a difference there. All right, let us get to add the Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the Week. We appreciate Adam so much, of course. In fact, the first thing I did when I got back, went and got me a little Adams. May do it again tonight. Don't tell my wife I'm going to do that. All right, Adams Ribco to Go, Gator of the Week. And then we've got a lot to choose from now with the Olympics going on. But to me, it was definitely my man Caleb Dressel. Now, Caleb Dressel and I share something in that he's from Green Cove, and I'm from St. Augustine. So we kind of, we know each other. Not really. But it wasn't so much just that he won. He's already won. But look, by the time you're listening to this, or maybe watching it, he may have won another gold medal. I know he was in, I think, the 50 free today. But the big thing is he won a gold medal as a teammate of an Olympic, I think he did the first leg in the relay, but he won his first individual gold medal in the 100 free and was just 0.2 of a second off breaking the Olympic record. So it was pretty interesting what he had to say afterwards, that he felt pressurized by, that the pressure had turned into stress for him. So, and he didn't feel like he was swimming very well in the prelims, but came on strong, obviously, and he's ready to roll. And again, we all sit there and celebrate and watch and laugh, and there's some amazingly touching stories about the Olympic athletes, but we don't sometimes realize all the pressure that is on, because this is such a huge event. So congratulations to Caleb Dressel, who is our Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the Week. Finally, we wrap it up with a bonus edition of This, That, and the Other, brought to you by Darshakow Insurance, the Ballyhoo Grill, and by Ironwood Golf Course. All things that I missed when I was out in Los Angeles. This, That, and the Other, it's a pretty simple one. The this was at Texas A&M, so how many years ago was that? 10 years ago, decided we got to get away from Texas. We hate them. We can't stand them. They just basically get whatever they want in this conference. We're sick of them. The SEC, we'd be the only school in Texas from the SEC. How great would that be? Oh, man. This would be great. We can get new rivalries going. They already have done that, so far. Let's go to the SEC. That's the this. The that is that Texas says, we're going to go to the SEC too. We hear you like it over there. You've already won one all-sports trophy. Maybe we can go win one of those. And by the way, think about how hard that's going to be to who wins the all-sports award. With Florida, which won it for 100 years in a row, with obviously Arkansas won the last one, Texas A&M won the one before, and now you're adding Texas and Oklahoma, which are so good in everything. Whew, that is going to be quite an award that they give out. So that's that Texas decides they're going to come in with Oklahoma. Texas A&M's like, bro, come on, man. So Texas A&M comes out. Their AD goes to SEC Media Days, which no ADs go to. He goes there and basically makes the rounds that says we're against this. We're not voting for it. We don't like it. We think this is wrong, and we're going to appeal to our other members. And of course, they voted on it, and it was 14-0. You said you're going to vote against it. No, well, we got to stay. If it's 13-1, everybody knows who the one is. We look like we're being petty. This, that, and the other. I had to do that one even if I wasn't going to do a bonus one. I was going to do that one. All right, that is going to do it for today's show. I hope you had a good time. It was great to be back in the saddle. Thanks so much to Evan, who does everything for me. And I hope you those drinks to start the show were mouth-watering. They were really good. I can tell you, the one that I drank out of SpongeBob's house, that was really good. It was almost like there wasn't enough to it. I wanted more, but I didn't want to get another one. It's kind of expensive. It is more expensive out there, by the way, just in case you're wondering. All right, there it is. Oh, it's a mango and pineapple margarita. How good does that look? That's a Mai Tai over there that Karen got. She was into Mai Tais this weekend. I didn't even show you the one where we had our wine glasses cleaned. We went to a winery and we did 2 different tastings at 2 different places. It was really good. We had a blast. Glad to be home. Glad to be back in Gainesville. Hope you're glad to have me back, and we'll be back Monday with another great show. Jimmy Himes will join us then. I look forward to that. Until then, I am Pat Dooley saying I'm deep, I'm way back, and I am out of here.